No Tea Shade with your host,
Chris.
I'm Brandy.
And I'm Christopher Dior.
and I'm Corey. And on today's episode, what we'll be covering is the topic of discrimination.
Let me give you the definition of discrimination. Discrimination is unfair treatment of a person or group based off of prejudice, especially on the grounds of sex, race, or their age.
Now, let's go ahead and break down some facts really quick. Now, in Florida, it is legal to fire someone or deny them access to housing or public accommodation because they are lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender.
53% of Floridians live in places that protect them from discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identification.
In 2002, Orlando amended its human rights ordinance to include sexual orientation, protecting against discrimination, and employment housing and public accommodations. In 2014, they also added transgender.
Now, in the state of Florida, racial makeup, I feel, is very segregated. And we want to go ahead and take a look at that for a moment. Now, according to the Florida census in the year of 1990, 12,938,000 was our population. 73% of that population was white, 1% was Asian, 12% was Hispanic, and 13% was black. Now in the year 2020, it's projected that our population will be 19,449,000, with the population being 58% white, 3% Asian, 21% Hispanic, and 18% black. Now, in Orlando, we kind of have a mix-up, and everybody kind of stays in their own sections, in their corners. We're divided. We have the north side, we have the east side, the south side, and the west side. Now, on the east side, in my opinion, that's where you're going to find all your Hispanics, all your Puerto Ricans. On the south side, you're going to find your rich white people. On the west side, you're going to find your black people. And on the north side, you're going to find more of like your young professionals, your college kids, the yuppies, the hippies, those type of people.
You're right. You're right.
You're right. I see that. On my side of town, I can be considered in the middle because I live in Altamont, but if you cross the street from me, we're in Orlando. So it's considered on my area, the Apopka area, you'll get a mix of the uppities that live closer to the Wekiva Park area, or you'll get the hood, and I mean the hood when you see them at Walmart.
Apopka doesn't have a good reputation because Apopka is known for being predominantly black. Like every
public shootings.
I talk to people about Apopka, they're like, "Well, you don't want to go over there. People get robbed over Apopka."
When I first got here to Orlando, and I was kind of given the makeup of areas to go into and areas not to, when I was introduced to the Apopka area, they're like, why are you frequenting over there? And I'm like, okay, well, what's so wrong with it? And it wasn't that it was anything wrong, it's just when you go to the Winter Park area versus Apopka versus some other areas, you understand the reason why that was.
Well, that also comes, my brother and I call my sister-in-law, they actually live in Apopka, and they're moving out of Apopka because, and they live in a neighborhood that is, their house is $250,000, $300,000, and they're like, I don't want to raise my kid in this neighborhood, it's very violent, and we want to get out of here, and that's not a cheap house to live in the area. So, for them to say that means there's something about that area of town that is a concern to people.
Well, they say all states have a hood.
Right.
So,
all areas, like of course, if you're from Orlando, you know what areas to avoid, you know what areas to stay away from. Like, not to go to Pine Hills, aka Crime Hills.
Oh, wow.
And there are sections in there that are found like Mercy Drive, aka Murder Drive.
Oh, let's not do Mercy Drive like that. We got a good meat market. Mercy Meat Market will get you right together.
But you also got the prison on Mercy Drive, the Work Release Center, where there's a lot of violent and drug offenders that live over there. So,
But it's just like no matter where you live, there's going to be good and bad areas. One thing that I would like to touch on, us as people who live in Florida and live in Orlando, in the Central Florida area, people from out of state, out of town, wherever you are, do not consider Disney Kissimmee. That is not Orlando. That is not even in the same county. we have to drive 35 to 45 minutes just to get to Disney. That's on a good day if there's no traffic. Once we hit I-4, you're going to be there forever. If you
Well, coming from out of state, you hear Florida, you think of Disney. So you think
Exactly.
Disney is a part of the makeup of Orlando. I know I did until
Mickey
having
Mouse
to deal
does
with
not
I-4
live
and
in
realizing how
Orlando.
far Mickey is from Orlando.
But that's true. Being that we did discuss on the areas that we frequent or that we do live in. So Chris, how do you feel being the only Caucasian member of the cast? Have you been discriminated against at any point in life?
I feel very accepted by my friends, you know.
That's your friend. We didn't actually like your friend.
But I'm going to go on and say that, you know, the black community that I love, because I love black people, okay, is something that, you know, they see me sometimes as a white boy. I'm not thuggish enough for them. I don't think there's a lot of
Really?
discrimination, but I mean, I think that there is some discrimination there with colors and, you know, with things like that. So I have experienced that. Guys that say, well, I don't, black guys that say, I don't date black guys, you know, and why is that? And then there's other, you know, people that say, I don't date white guys, whether it's Spanish or, you know, anything else. But, you know, I don't look at it like that. I just go on to the next person because it doesn't affect me. You're not worth it. Bye.
That's a good point. And Brandy, how do you feel about ageism, sexism, or race as part of the discrimination in your life in the Orlando area?
Actually, what I've experienced as far as discrimination hasn't necessarily taken place in Orlando, but pretty much throughout my work history and career, being a young black female coming up in, let's say, the boys club industry as far as in healthcare, I've always been that one that's kind of been set aside because I was a female, pretty much trying to play on their playing field, and it still happens today. And the thing about it is, I've learned to embody it. I've learned to continue with my education. I've learned to just kind of embrace it and move on because I can't change who I am. So I am a young black female who will continue to be in a man's world and continue within my profession. So that's pretty much as far as discrimination that I've experienced. And I mean, I don't see it changing anytime soon.
Well, for me, discrimination is encompassing of a lot. I've grown up in Florida, lived in many different areas in the Central Florida area. Orlando is different for me. I lived in Cocoa Beach. That was my profound discrimination because growing up there, having a military background family, it was like out of a school of 2,000 students, it was 50 minorities. And out of those 50 minorities, it was only 10 blacks. And out of those 10 blacks, it was me and 2 other people that were in the honors program. So my first encounter coming to Cocoa Beach Junior Senior High School was saying, wow, I didn't know black people could be smart. And that caught me off guard because everyone in my family is smart. They're either AP or they go to the IB programs, they're in advanced schooling. I have some of my cousins that dance professionally for Disney World Busch Gardens. I have family members that actually are in high-ranking areas of the military. So for me to hear that, it really set me back because my family has always taught me education is the key and it will get you anywhere. And my father, even though he's living in DC at the moment, he's always instilled in me that you need to know your role and know where you are because he worked in the Pentagon. So hearing that threw me for a loop. But discrimination in Florida, for me, has been, didn't know black people was that smart, or I didn't know coons or monkeys were allowed to even come to this establishment, or
Wait, you got that in Florida?
Yes, in Florida. I've heard that in Orlando. The worst one I heard in Orlando was about a couple of weeks ago. Me and my mother went to Walmart, and the lady in front of us, which was a Caucasian lady, had an EBT card, and I joked with my mother and said, wow, I wish we could have one of those. And the lady turned around and said, oh, I thought all black people had EBT cards.
Ooh.
And it was Me and my mother laughed because it was funny to us. Because I was like, dang, I wish I could qualify for an EBT card. But hey, things happen. Corey, how do you feel about that?
I feel growing up, I didn't know what discrimination was. I was born here in Florida, in Altamont Springs, but at an early age, I moved to South Bend, Indiana, which for the most part is predominantly white. I went to white schools, I hung out with white kids, I did white people stuff. I didn't see other.
Well, we know that. We know that.
I didn't see other black kids. Like I think I had one other black friend. That was it. Like one kid that was black. I think the whole time that I was living in Indiana, the first elementary school that I went to, I only knew 2 black people. And my mom tells me this story a lot. My first day of kindergarten, we walked in and there was this little white girl and she said, "Look, mommy, there's a little black boy." And my mom got so mad. She was so pissed off. And she was like, and my stepdad, my daddy, he had to calm her down because she was like, "Look, Sean, there's a little white girl." But, so I guess for me, I feel like growing up in such like a white bread upbringing, because my mom did not raise us as thugs. Of course, you know, I have a little hood in me because I was born in it. That's my background. Like it's always going to be in me, but that's not who I was raised to be. So coming back home to Florida and going back to where I came from, I felt different from everyone else because I didn't want to do everything that everybody else wanted to do. So I kind of feel discrimination on both sides because I feel like I don't necessarily fit in with I don't really fit in with the black community because I don't act hard, I don't act hood, I'm not thuggish enough.
Right.
And then on the other side, I don't really fit in well on the other side either because they don't think I can fit in or I can't hang with them or I'm not supposed to like this type of stuff because I'm black.
Well, both of us feel the same way. I get it all the time. Wow, you're black and you listen to Hanson? What's up with Hanson?
Nothing wrong with Hanson.
We listened to that back in the day. Or you bought the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC CD? Yeah, I had Marcus Schinkenberg on my wall when I was 5.
You tried it.
Hey,
Well,
black people have different ideas too now.
now I've come back to, you know, I'm remembering this now by talking about this is, you know, when I was a kid, my mom left my dad and we moved to Gainesville, Florida. And I went to a school up there, elementary school, and it was, Gainesville is predominantly black. That's been the city for years. And I remember going to school, I had a black teacher named Miss Sparks. And when I left school, my mom came to pick me up, and she left the car windows down. And she walked to get me, and when she came back, there was mulch all inside the car. And this little black girl was sitting off to the side laughing, you know, white people, white people, white people, you know. Because the school was predominantly black, you know, and I guess that discrimination, racism back then, you know, and it's the same thing that other people went through, you know. And my mom just like, you know, get it out and just let's go on, you know. So that's something that I've been through. I didn't remember that until we were talking about it, you know, at
They
the time.
threw mulch in the
They
car.
threw, the girl threw mulch inside the car.
That was her way of
Yeah,
getting
because the
their
school
attention.
was all black. Like, the school
Okay.
that I went to was all black, and I was the only white person in that school that I remember. And, you know, it's the opposite of what's happened to other people, you know, in different areas. But Gainesville was predominantly black, you know, and at that time, you know, I'm not going to say my age, but years
Now-
ago.
When it comes to discrimination, there's many different forms of discrimination, especially within the gay community. Especially because the gay community, they're a little bit self-hating. So a lot of times you'll see things like mask for mask or no femmes, no fats, or no one over the age of 25 or no one over the age of 30. Like, and sometimes I don't get it because to me it's all love is love. I understand that everyone has their preference and everyone has their ideal of what they're looking for, but sometimes you can discriminate so far that you might miss out on a blessing.
Now, when you say there's discrimination as far as that, is that as far as dating or just I mean, where does that come
There
from?
are some people, it comes into place both ways. Some people will discriminate in dating as well as friendships. Because you'll have, let's take these different apps for instance, you'll have Grindr, Jack, Tinder, whatever, and some people will say that they're looking for friends, and maybe you're looking for friends too, and you're new in the area, and you'll go ahead and hit them up and just say hi, try to start a casual conversation, and they'll respond instantly back, oh, you're not my type, or they'll just block you.
Exactly. Or, oh, you're 30-something years old. Why do you want to be my friend? You know, I have friends that are 18, 19, 20 years old. You know, it doesn't mean that I can't be a friend to somebody. I'm not trying to sleep with them. You know, I'm being a person. You know, it doesn't matter what your age is. But a lot of people are, and I'm not going to say that I didn't do that when I was younger, but as I got older, it's been something that I've, you know, let loose of.
So on the actual apps though, like, is that what you would consider discrimination, or is that something that I would look at that as my personal preference? Like, if I go on an app and I sign up and I say on my profile that I'm looking for X, Y, and Z.
It's definitely discrimination, because how can we as a group, as a people, scream we want equality, but we discriminate within ourselves?
That's true.
It is.
That gets me, the masculine for masculine. That really throws me off, because to me, masculinity is something that a female will want. If you are a woman and you want something masculine to protect you, to look over you. If we two guys, we should be able to protect each other. Not you looking for somebody that's more masculine than you. How would that work? So you're going to be the father and the son situation? No, that doesn't work for me.
I mean, when I see, as when it comes to masculine, you know, a lot of people ask, oh, I'm looking for masculine, and then they open their mouth and a purse falls out. You know, like, how do you call yourself masculine? You're like, you're a man's man. You know, you're playing football and you're a jock and you've got abs.
Girl.
But yet, you know, you toot your ass up, or, excuse me, you toot your booty up, and, you know, you're like, oh, girl, you know, that's not masculine, for one, you know. I don't understand that, but it is what it is. When
That
it comes
is the
to that.
community we live in, but
It is. And I accept those people that think they're masculine.
I think we
Doesn't
all,
mean that they are.
I think we all need to just accept that we're all one race, we're the human race. And when it comes to dating, I think discrimination is really huge, especially for me, like being black. Okay, let's just talk about this. I predominantly date white people.
we
So-
know,
Not predominantly.
Thank you
does.
for spitting out there.
we know.
I don't do it on purpose. I'm not discriminating against black people, and I have a set of standards that goes across all races, all types of people. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm an equal opportunity employer. I will give anyone a chance.
Oh, you using my word, boo. Hey.
Not that I've seen it in 2 years, but, you know.
As long as you treat me with respect and dignity, I will definitely give you a chance. You want to take me on a date? Okay, I have no issue with that. Let's go out to eat. I like to eat. You like to eat. Let's do it.
Y'all looking at this person over here. Don't take him to Wendy's, Burger King,
No,
none of
you
that.
better take him
'Cause
to
he gonna
Cheesecake
say,
Factory.
where
or
we going with
Longhorn,
that?
something. Red Lobster.
Now this one over here, he can say he's an equal opportunity employer because he doesn't discriminate against age, sex, or color. But you can't be white.
But I prefer certain things.
Like, what
Okay,
I
so
think,
that's your personal preference.
Well,
So
I do
But that's
prefer.
not a preference,
But that's
Brandon.
your personal
Well,
preference.
'Cause even though that might be how he feels, he's discriminating against a group of people. That's a group.
Well,
Because
I've
when
had-
you're talking about discrimination, you're talking about age, sex, or group of colors.
Okay.
He's letting go one race for another race and doesn't know if that one race that he's letting go could have a quality that he's missing.
I do give in to, say, white people, white guys. I just don't find a lot of them attractive to me. Some of them I do. Justin Bieber, oh, very attractive. If he come up to me, I would date him. Yes, I would have sex with him. But
But on average,
I'm
you
very
don't date
picky
white
when it
guys.
comes to white guys. There's a very fine line when it comes to white guys of what I want.
and I
what I've been with.
can respect that. I can
You
understand
know.
that, because when it comes to black men, I'm very picky as well. Like,
Exactly.
I don't want I don't want a thug. I don't want someone to talk to me in hood. You better be able to speak proper English and articulate. I want someone that I can take home to my family. I don't want someone who's fresh out of prison. I don't want someone.
His mom.
Not even with
is-
a little teeny bit of thug though, like for real.
No,
I mean-
my man gonna have that.
Every-
The thug can be for later, like it can be professional up front.
Wait,
but-
this ain't a sex topic. We on discrimination.
Every
My man have that.
every now,
Grandma, no.
every now and again, I'm gonna need you to back me up against the wall and put me in my place because I get out of hand. My mouth is out of control. But I mean, I can find that in anyone. I need someone that I'm going to be proud of to take out in public. And if I don't see you in my future, if I don't see, oh well, this is the person I want to bring home, that I want my family to be proud of because I'm proud of you, it's not going to work for me. So
But you still have to give people a chance, Corey.
I do. I give you a chance. I give you about 5 minutes. I give you about a good.
That's not long
He
enough.
said
Because in 5 minutes, you're not going to learn anything about the person.
That's
But-
debating.
But in
What
5
you see on the outside.
But in 5 minutes, if you ask me what's up with that ass, or you trying to show me some pictures of your, that at that point is everything that we had to talk about is null and void.
Now,
have
I can
nothing else to
understand
discuss.
that. That is a null and void
That's-
issue.
yeah,
That is a null and void.
that means blocked.
Blocked for
For
real.
me, I just like the color of the skin. It's got nothing to do with being white or black. I don't prefer pale skin. And this is not something that I like. But I have dated white men, pale white men.
You can get a pale skinned man that goes and get him a $15.99 tan every 2 weeks, and he'll be my complexion.
You know, I am not into just thug or preppy black boy, whatever it is. You know, it just depends on the person.
Excuse me.
It depends on the person and their personality. If I really do find a white guy that has that personality that I meet with, that can connect with me, I'll go for it. I'm not gonna deny it.
Here are my here. I call it the 2 out of 3 rule. You gotta be able to satisfy 2 out of the 3 requirements to become dateable. You either have to have a job or be in school, have a place to live, not including your parents' place, and have reliable transportation, not including the bus. If you can satisfy
Right.
2 out of the 3, you are dateable. That's
Which in
all.
Orlando is hard to find.
That's all that I look for.
That's a form of discrimination
Yeah, I'm just
because you're narrowing down your pool there.
It's
But
discrimination
as you
on
get
personal
older,
preference.
as you get older,
Yes,
it's-
Brandy, you keep saying is it discrimination or
I'm
personal
just
preference?
saying.
but baby, as you
So-
get older, don't you think that as,
Wait,
as
so-
a 30-year-old, you should have a car
I
by
agree.
now?
I
You should
agree.
have your own place. You shouldn't be living in your mother's house.
I agree.
So
But those-
you know, you
Those
should
are
have a little
expectations.
something.
Those are expectations, not
There are
requirements.
Those are some exceptions to the rule, but again, it's a rule. Those rules are meant to be broken. So, Brandy, let me ask you: have you ever discriminated against anyone in your life?
I have.
Why?
For those exact reasons. If you did not have your own place and not your own transportation, you are not necessarily dateable. But at the same time, I have dated someone who actually didn't have their own place or not their own car. And I mean, again,
But
I
how
wouldn't
old?
say
how old were they?
they were younger.
Younger.
They were
Okay.
younger.
Okay.
So that doesn't
But
mean that the
again-
younger
but
one
again,
that
like, I
may be
don't- I
around
don't-
these days.
Correct. I don't
Doesn't have
look
their
at
own
it
shit.
as I discriminated against them. I look at it as that
I
was
don't. I
that
don't.
was
I don't call
my
it discrimination.
personal
I call it
preference.
disqualification. That's what I call
Yes.
it.
It, okay. So then that breeds it's personal
Because,
preference.
like I said, equal opportunity employer,
Mhm.
but you are not qualified for the job.
So right. So you're
But
not
that's a form
qualified.
of discrimination because if you look at the Work Act, you can't discriminate on certain factors, and that's a discriminatory factor that you're putting
Right.
into your preference.
Not
that you're
necessarily,
saying.
because with every job, you have minimum qualifications that you have to meet. If you do not meet those minimum qualifications, you are knocked out of the candidate pool immediately with no
Yes,
interview,
right.
no nothing. You are knocked out of that candidate pool. So if you
But when you
don't
go
meet
for the
those
job-
minimum,
wait,
you
but-
ain't going for the job because
but
you
look.
don't meet those minimum qualifications to get to that next step.
If you're going for the job or you're sending out your resume, before they know your qualifications entirely, what do they look at? Your age, your sex, and your demographics.
I think it depends.
Before they break down that
I think it
resume.
depends because technically a lot of people will submit for positions that they know that they are not qualified for.
Right.
And that's okay to do that.
And it really
It's okay,
is,
it's
because
okay.
if you know, when you go to a job, they teach you.
They teach. And sometimes
So you can
some
falsify
things-
information to
some-
get taught into a good job.
And also some things outweigh others. So like you might not have a degree, but your year of in a certain profession might outweigh how long you've been in that profession without having a degree. So I know some things can cancel each other out, but at the same time, I think if you don't meet a minimum qualification,
Right.
you don't pass a certain mark.
Well, I had this comes from a similar
It's gonna
situation.
be the last thing that we have to
The
say.
other day, a friend of mine put a post on Facebook, and she's a female, and she said her father owns a auto company, and she said, "Ladies, I have an opening position at this company." And I said, and I text her, and I said, "Why ladies?" You know, it's for one, it's autos, which females are not big in auto mechanics and
But they
things
can
like that.
be, so don't
They
do
can
it.
be.
They can be.
And I
so-
asked, "Why ladies?" And she said, "Well, it's an outside job." And I said, "But for one, I know about vehicles, and I could probably do the job just as well as a lady."
It depends on
And
the
she
place.
said, "My father wants to hire ladies."
Well, all you should have told her is I could put on a wig.
And I,
girl.
no, I said, "Well, do I need to dress as a lady to come for the interview?" And she was like, "Well, no,
You know what?
I'm just gonna say that, when I put the post up, that a lot of people were asking me and, coming back with, why does it have to be a female?" And I said, "Well, is your dad just into females?"
But that's
working
why
for
he was
him.
specifically
And she said,
targeted.
"Yes." And I said, "Because
But that's a form of
that's
discrimination
a
in the
discrimination,
workplace.
because for one, I know a lot about vehicles, and I could work in that place, and I could do very well there."
Well, what if they were looking for women
It's
to
just- it's
wear
just-
bikinis to walk around?
it's just
and
like-
not
That's
wear
discrimination
It's
in
a
the
salvage
workplace.
yard. It's a salvage yard.
If you look at it, that case was brought to the courts a
But,
couple of years ago with
hell, I
discrimination in
can
the
wear a
workplace.
bikini and walk through that bitch. What's the matter? Okay. I might draw a different
You know what?
demographic.
You know
Okay.
what?
We will draw a different demographic, but before we close this out, Corey, let me just go back and explain. There was a case with the Hooters situation where a young man
I got Hooters.
wanted to apply for Hooters and get a job at one of the locations. They had to take it to the court system because it was discrimination based on he was being a male.
Yeah.
He had a chest, which they require at Hooters. He could fit into the little skimpy shorts. He could wear tights and he could wear the shorts. There was nothing wrong with that because the uniform that they wear is basically a tank top, which in our industry, our world, is a wife beater. So what was the discrimination against that? He wasn't a female. And the courts overruled it based on that fact, that the uniform was equally worn for a man and a woman. It showed no difference.
And that comes to the same thing I was talking about. There was no difference in them hiring a female or a male in that job, but that's what her father that owned the company wanted. Whether it's his personal preference or not, And it's not a job that requires you to wear something skimpy to pull people in and make money. It's a salvage place. It's not something that will benefit from that. So
Well, we have to wrap this up, but before we wrap it up, we have an exciting opportunity available, and we're gonna let Brandy go ahead and tell you about what's going on.
Go ahead.
All right, so we have been talking about makeup and, just pretty much the
Drag.
drag queen culture and things like that. So we have decided to do what we are calling a face beat challenge. We extended this to all of the drag queens throughout Orlando. What we are requiring you to do is to reach out to us for our September the 10th show. What we will need from you are 2 pics, and that is a before picture, that is you without your makeup, and then an after pic, that is you with your face fully beat. The deadline for the submission of these pictures will be on September the 1st by 12 noon. And the winner will be selected at the end of our show on the September the 10th taping. Right now, the prize will be a $25 MAC gift card, and we will be taking the submissions to our Facebook and Instagram page, which on Facebook and Instagram are No Tea, O Shade.
And with that note, if it's not tea, then it's shade. One new thing that we would like to implement into a couple of our shows is the hashtag of the day. And today we're going to do the hashtag of Miss Brandy herself.
My hashtag is yes, spelled YA with as many S's as you can put on the end of that.
So if you see us on Facebook, Instagram, and now even our Twitter page, you can hit us with that hashtag from Miss Brandy. Yes! Boop!